Hi lovers of fashion, how are you all doing today? This is Sorry JC. So in this tutorial, we'll be recreating that corset you saw on the thumbnail. That is a funnel corset. So first of all, come down by half an inch. That line there will serve as our shoulder line and our neckline. All right, so from that half an inch, I have my bust point, I have my under bust, I have my half length, and then my full length. So let's go ahead to label them. P for bust point, chest line, under bust, half length, and then full length. So from the half an inch line we marked, as I said, is our shoulder line and also our neckline. So my shoulder divided by 2 is 8. I went ahead to mark it, came down by 1 inches for the shoulder slope, and took a neck width of 3 inches and the neck depth of 3 inches. So after marking out the neck width and neck depth, from the 1 inches we came down as our shoulder slope, I'll just mark it into the neckline. So from our shoulder slope, I'll also mark out 8 inches, which will serve as our chest line. And I will just draw out a line like this. And I'll also draw from the other side like this. Make a straight line to meet the 8 inches mark we did. And then label it as our chest line. So from here, we'll be dividing what we have here by 2. We came down by 8 inches, right? So we'll be dividing 8 by 2, which is 4. And from that 4, we'll come in by half an inch and mark, and then divide our bust measurements by 4 and mark down the value, and then connect the 3 points together to get our armhole, just the way I am doing here, like this. So if you don't have a pattern master, you can use your free hand to get your curve. Okay, so after that, the next thing we'll be doing is to get our nipple to nipple measurement. There's a formula for that. So when you divide it and you get your value, you just mark it down. So for this tutorial, we'll be using 4 inches as our nipple to nipple measurement. So when you open it, it will be 8 inches. So the next thing for us to do is to take our dart width. So from my underbust, I will taking a dart width of 1 inch on both sides and mark. So if you are busty, if you are a plus size, you can do 1.5. So I'll just go ahead to connect that to our bust point like this. Also connect this side like this, and then we'll head over to our shoulder to divide our shoulder by 2. We'll be using a shoulder dart for this tutorial. You can also use a bust dart if you don't want to use a shoulder dart, and it will give you the same result. So divide the shoulder by 2, and with a straight line you connect it to our chest line like this. So from the 1 inch mark we took on both sides here, we'll be marking the same thing down to our full length like this. So like I said before, you can use a brush dart for this tutorial. All you need to do is to get the difference between your front half length and your back half length from your bust point. Mark that down, and then you connect it to your bust point. From our shoulder here, we'll be marking out 1.5, and then we'll connect it to the bust point. You can do 2 inches. So here we'll be replacing the 1.5 inch we took from the shoulder. By doing so, we won't run into any shortage. So we'll just mark that out and then curve that into our armhole like this. And that will be our new armhole. Next is for us to insert quarter of our bust measurement of our under bust, waist, and then hip measurement on our full length. On our bust point, we'll be marking out bust divided by 4 plus 1 inch for sewing allowance and then 1 inch for our darts. On our under bust here, under bust circumference divided by 4 plus 1 inch sewing allowance plus 2 inches of our dart intake. And then from here, we'll move down to our waistline. Waist circumference divided by 4 plus 1 inch sewing allowance and then plus 2 inches of our dart intake. We'll mark that out. Here is our hip measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inches sewing allowance and then our 2 inches dart. We'll just mark that and then we'll be connecting all the points. We just mark that now like this. Connect the waist and then flip our pattern over to mark our hip line like this. So here we'll be cinching our waist. All right, there's no any other way of doing this. It just depends on what you want and how snatched you want your waist to be. From the waist line, you divide what you have there by 2 and then draw a straight line to meet the upper part of our curve, armhole curve. And then from that same waist, you take that intake of 0.5 on both sides. You can do 2 inches, sorry, you can do 1 inch, 1.5. It depends on how snatched you want your waist to be. So then you connect that like this and then down to our full length in this way. We will also be cinching the back while drafting the back pattern. So after marking out our dart, so from the bust point, we'll be connecting the bust point to the armhole with a C curve like this. Just use your free hand to join them together like this to give it a C shape. So from our pattern here, we'll be giving it that wavy effect you saw on the thumbnail. So we'll just come up by 2.5 inch and then mark the same thing here. Then mark the same 2.5 here. You can do more or come down. Depends on how you want the curve to appear. Okay, so just from that place, mark it out like this. Mark this other one here and join it here. Then from that point, you come up like this, go down and come up to complete everything. Okay, this way. So here, there's also a wavy effect at the upper part. Don't just come to your chest line, mark like this and try to connect, all right? You run into problems. The best thing to do is to come up from the chest line by 1.5 inches or 2 inches, okay? This will balance the whole thing for us. We'll just measure it out and then connect it to the armhole like this with a straight line. From the new line, we will come in by 1 inch or half an inch. You can do half inch or 1 inch and connect it to our chest line. This is for that little V that is there. And then there's also a wave, as I said, at the upper part here. So what we will do is just to use your free hand to create the wave like I'm doing like this and connect it down to your armhole. At this point, we are done with drafting. The next thing we'll be doing before we cut is to place a paper underneath our pattern to trace out from our underbust to our armhole up to that wavy effect we have there. So make sure the one under is touching the underbust. Then use your pin to secure it like this from the underbust line. So for the tracing, I couldn't lay hands on my tracing wheel, so I'll be using my pen to mark that out. So just watch how I'll be doing it. At this point, you are done with the cutting, and this is what we have. You can see the shape we have there. So we'll be keeping that aside and cut out our main pattern. So if you are yet to subscribe to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Turn on your bell icon to notify you whenever I post a new video. Give this video a thumbs up. And if you have any question, drop it in the comment section. I'll be there to answer them. So I'm just cutting out the pattern. So after cutting, this is what we have. Okay, make sure you label them so you don't get confused while cutting the back pattern. So we'll be going over to draft the back pattern. So here is the back pattern. I've gone ahead to label my bust point, my waist point, and my full length. The next thing we'll be doing now is to get our nipple to nipple measurement and mark that. After marking, we'll now draw a straight line from the bust point to meet the full length. Just as I'm doing here now, connect the points together with a straight line from the bust point to the full length. After that, from the waist point, we'll take our dart from the waist point. So I took that intake of 1 inch on both sides, and I'll be connecting it to the bust line like this. So from the full length, I'll be coming up by 3 inches. Then I'll connect from there to our dart like this. So next is for us to mark out quarter of our bust measurement. Bust divided by 4, and I'll be adding 1 inch for sewing allowance. On the waistline, waist divided by 4 plus 1 inches sewing allowance, and then plus my dart intake. I will mark that down. On my full length, I will do the same and then add my sewing allowance, which is 1 inch, and then I'll mark that. So here I'll be connecting all the points together like this, from my bust to my waist, from my waist to my hip, like this. So just as we did with the front part, we'll also be cinching this back. So we'll divide what we have from our waist by 2, and we'll take the line up and mark, and then down to the full length like this. we came up here by 3 inches. We'll also be doing the same at this side, like this. So here, from the waistline, we'll be taking a dart intake of 1/2 inch on both sides, and then we'll connect it to the bust point. From the bust point down to the 3 inches mark we made, and then we'll connect it all like this. So next is for us to mark our lacing bar. So we'll come in by 1.5. You can do 2 inches, but I'm doing 1.5 here. So I will just connect it, mark it all the way down, and use a straight ruler to get a straight line like this. So at the upper part here, if you don't want it to be straight like this, if you want to give it a little bit of curve, you can come down by 1 inch or 1.5 and connect back to the bust line. This here is for my eyelet, and at the end here I came up by 1.5 and then I connected it to the full length. So at this point we are done with the back pattern. I'll just go ahead and label them 1, 2, 3 before we cut out the pattern. So we are done cutting the back pattern, and this is what we have. Thank you so much for watching. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your bell icon to notify you whenever I post a new video. Bye for now.